T, and welcome to Funny Homeschooling.
Today we're doing something called the what, the when, and the why. We're going to be sharing with you guys why, when, and for what reason we decided to homeschool me.
Great topic. I love that. The what, when, and the why. The 3 W's. What, when, and why. All right. So when did we start homeschooling?
Probably, I want to say in about 2016, something around that time. So about 7 years now sounds right.
So I came home first in 2015, and I believe I was home for maybe 7 months to a year before I actually brought my Goodbaby home. And I loved it, wanted to make sure that, we were stable. I wanted to make sure that I had everything ready for her when she came home.
So what were some of the reasons why you wanted to homeschool me in the first place?
Well, I wanted to homeschool you because you were going to school. She had before schooling, then she had school, and then she had after school care. So that was a long school day, for one thing.
In other words, we weren't spending as much time together.
Right, we were not spending as much time together. Then you would come home, you would have homework, we would have to eat, cleanse ourselves, spend some time together, and then go straight to bed, and then get up the next day and start, the whole thing all over again. 5 days a week, have 2 days on the weekends together. It just was not enough time, quality time together. So that was number one.
And then what else?
The second thing was I wanted to be the one to bring her up, to let you know the rights, the wrongs, to encourage her, to motivate her, to strengthen her. I wanted to be the one that God used to do that because, I was taking her to school every day. Some teachers were really nice. For the most part, she had really, really good teachers. But then you had those teachers who they showed favoritism.
Or different things like that.
Right. So then you had those teachers that showed favoritism. Some of them may have not liked a certain race of children, because Goodbaby went to a predominantly white school. We stayed in that area where it was more white than African American or any other race, which was, there's nothing wrong with it. We absolutely love it. Because, then another thing is, kind of focusing on the same reason. Some of the students were very, very nice. She had some great friends. But then you had some students that were mean, that were bullying, so different reasons. And then I just knew that God had told me, I had prayed about it for years to be able to bring her home and homeschool her. And I just knew that that was for us. May not be for everyone, but that was for us. And so, those are some of the main reasons. You have to be careful with your children in public school. And if it works for you, it works for you. But for us, homeschooling was better. Because you have adults in the schooling telling your children certain things. Then you have the students in the school, peer pressure, showing your children certain things, telling your children certain things. And then you have those children who are trying to walk in the right way, who are sharing their ways of life as well. So you have some good things going on at the, in the schools too. And you have some great teachers, because Goodbaby had some amazing teachers. So I don't want to take away from that. She had more amazing teachers than not, put it that way. So but for those reasons, I wanted her to come to school. I wanted her to have a Christian-based foundation. I wanted her to always know and love God, and I didn't want anyone giving her the perception that God is wrong, or it's something wrong with a person who loves God. So, you know, again, for those reasons, I wanted you to come home. I love my good baby, and I always want the best for her. So.
Some of the things that I will say, like, about my feelings, like when I first became homeschooled, how I did and felt when I was in public school or in-person schooling, because I'm still in public school, just not in person. So in-person schooling, I would definitely say there were a lot of pros. Like, I loved my school overall, so like I will say that there were a lot of pros to it. Like for one, I was always like a decently good student as far as my grades. While they weren't as good as they are now, my grades have definitely improved. Since I became homeschooled, I've never been like a student that got all D's and F's. Like, I've always got, you know, decent grades for one. I was always like well behaved, so that's also been another thing that I've always been. I had a decent amount of friends or acquaintances, people that I knew, and I had been at my same school, that same elementary school, for probably about 4 years, 3.5 years, something like that. So I knew a lot of students, and a lot of students knew me. So socially, like, I had people that I liked, that liked me, that talked to me. I would say for the most part, more people liked me than the amount of people that did not like me. Kind of same with my teachers. The students were that same way. Yes. However, I did have like a few like bullies throughout the years. I would say like the last year it wasn't as much of a problem, but like especially like first to like second grade is when I experienced a lot of bullying. And while don't get me wrong, I still loved my school. I had a lot of people that I did like and that liked me in addition. So the amount of bullies it was not like a large percentage of people, but it was still there, and it still, you know, affected me, you know, because for one, I was like really shy and timid back then, so I didn't have a really large amount of self-confidence. And because of that, even though like most people liked me, like, and I'm quite sure if I went to school now, it would be that same way, because I mean, I just think I'm just that type of person that people tend to just gravitate toward. However, considering that I didn't have a large self-confidence to begin with, that really bothered me, being bullied. And sometimes it was on like at least a daily or weekly basis, so it wasn't just an occasional thing, because at some point the people who were doing the bullying were in the same class, not in third grade, but when they were in the same class, that was something that I couldn't escape, because it's like you're always in close proximity with that person. And then there was also like just, you know, a certain amount of peer pressure and, you know, just cliques all around the school, you know. Of course, it wasn't as bad as it would be like in high school, for example, but there was still like a certain level of peer pressure. And then of course there were some teachers that showed favoritism. Like, for example, if I did something wrong and or another student did something wrong, they would like send a note home for me but not the other student. Or even if another student was bullying me, they wouldn't give them a note home, but sometimes when I did something, they would give me a note home. You know, just little things like that that I, you know, did not appreciate even at that young age, because, you know, you still know when things are wrong and when you're being mistreated, even, you know, at that young age. Right. So while I would say there were a lot of things that I loved at the school, like I loved all the friends that I had. I loved most of my teachers. Like, I really did have some really good teachers, but there was maybe like 1 or 2 of those 4 years when I had teachers that were iffy in some way or another, from my perspective. Kind of what Good Mommy said, but that was kind of like my perspective of going through that on a daily basis. Some of the things that kind of led up to being homeschooled. And then when I did become homeschooled, at first, this is a like brand new topic kind of, but at first like really hard kind of sort of, because when you are from the outside looking in, you kind of think of homeschooling as this like easy, like nonchalant like thing where it's like not even school. You get to stay home,
you get
watch
to wake
TV.
up when you want to,
yeah,
be on your electronics.
Yeah, you get to just do whatever you want whenever you want. And I'm quite sure that was kind of my perspective, like before I became a homeschooler, because I didn't know any better, and you don't really know that many homeschoolers as a child going to public school. For the most part, you just kind of know what you know. So I didn't really know what it was like, but kind of share like some of that experience of what it was like for you as well when I first became homeschooled, like, and how was it different from how it is now?
It was great when she became homeschooled because I was able to see her all the time. So I love that. Of course, you know, you have some hiccups here and there that you have to overcome. So some of the hiccups that we had were, first and foremost, every year I would have to take a test like I was going to school, like I was the student, you know. I did not like that.
And that was part of her working from home as well, just so there's no confusion there. Right.
And then as far as Goodbaby, it was just both of us getting used to how do I want to say it?
A certain amount of criteria, a certain amount of type of lessons, and not only that, but doing that and completing that on an online format and getting to know the system was, you know, our biggest thing. And then just making sure we got the pacing on point, making sure I did my work every week.
I'm going to go to the Dollar Tree again. Yeah, but it was just us getting used to having a schedule, you know. Not so much having a schedule, because I mean you have a schedule, but you don't have a schedule like you have when you're homeschooled. When you're homeschooled, I mean, just like children go to school and they get their schoolwork done, she still had to get her schoolwork done. So we still had to maintain a schedule. We had to come up with a schedule, and we had to abide by that schedule to assure that she was getting her schoolwork done.
And the main thing about homeschooling too that can be difficult, and I don't know if you guys knew this, but just a heads up, if you're someone considering homeschooling, if you do not do your work, like if you fall behind or if you have a student who just is not doing their work whatsoever, they will send you back to in-person schooling. Like, it used to be a lot more laid back when I first went to homeschooling, but especially in the most recent years, since like after COVID, like they do not play about deadlines and stuff like that. So if you do not get your schoolwork done, you have a risk of getting in-person schooling, and or if you're getting bad grades. So just like in-person schooling, how there can be consequences to skipping class or things like that, it's the same with homeschooling. We still have consequences.
Go ahead.
And we still have duties, you know, and we have to, instead of being able to kind of have that organized by teachers and the people that you have at an in-person schooling, you kind of have to set your own schedule. You have to take that initiative to wake up every morning and
well, you do
get
that
your
now.
schoolwork done.
She does that now, but when she was in third grade, because she started homeschooling in third grade, so when she started, that responsibility was on me. So I had to make sure that, you know, she had a schedule, you know, she was doing her work, and it was not easy because
we have to work like hours and hours at a time, like sometimes like up until midnight
when you first started. Yeah, when she first started, because, you know, I had to buy a printer, and then we had to make sure she had her, I believe you had your laptop already, but I had to buy a printer. We had to set that up and get used to that. Then that was giving us some issues. I just had to make sure she was getting her schoolwork done. Her online studies, you know, they have it where they have a parent portal and they have the student portal. So the parent have to go on there and you have to make sure their work is done. You have to make sure they're doing something in each subject every week. If not, the teacher will send you a message and or they will give you a phone call. So I had to make sure she was doing all of her work. She did a great job. You know, I mean, of course, you know, again, you know, you run into some things. But for the most part, she did an excellent job. And it all worked out for us. And I'm so glad it did, because it was not easy at first, but it was all worth it.
And that was definitely something, especially like if you start homeschooling, like even regardless of what the kids' age are, or whether you were like I am, or you're considering starting them in like public school or in-person school and then taking them virtual, or even if you start them like that from the time they're in kindergarten, I feel like when you have younger kids doing work like that, it's always more of a learning curve for them, because you know, they're little, you know, and it's that whole big system that you have to learn. They have to learn how to navigate within screens, and they have to stay on top of their work, you know, especially if they have a low attention span. I feel like your attention span can be lower when you're, you know, at a younger age. So Of course it depends on the child, but for the most part you're definitely going to have to teach them and mentor them at a younger age, and sometimes even like at older ages if you have a low attention span, or if like they have something like ADHD or some type of factor that can make it a little bit harder for them to focus in certain ways. But definitely with young children, you know, it can definitely be more of a learning curve. So patience is definitely like a requirement, especially on the parents' part, to, you know, nurture them and teach them in that process, because it's definitely something that takes a little bit to learn.
It was one child I remember, and when I bring this up, you'll remember. He was very tech savvy. He knows all about computers. Even to this day, I still see his mom on social media, and he knows all about computers, okay? So tech savvy does not have, I mean, it has a lot to do with it as far as how you can maneuver the system. However, if you are not...
he just wasn't doing his work.
Yeah, he was not doing his work.
Yeah, it's not always the fact of understanding. It's also, are you doing your work? Because if you understand it, but you're not doing it. He didn't
understand it either, though.
Oh, he didn't?
No, I don't believe he understood it either.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, he didn't, and that's why he didn't do his work, because he did not understand it. He didn't want to do it. Yeah. Just simply did not want to do it. And I'm quite sure either his mom has him on a more stricter homeschooling, where she has to pay for all of the homeschooling material, and or he's had to go back to regular school. I know for a fact he's no longer in virtual schooling, and that ended a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. So you definitely don't come with the mindset, or don't allow your children to have the mindset of they're going to just be home, you know, it's just going to be easy selling. I mean, it is after it, well, it can be, I won't say it is, it can be if you have the type of child that knows what they have to do, and they just go ahead and do it, like my Goodbaby. And it didn't take long for her to become that way, thank God. So, I mean, I believe that homeschooling, and that, you know, could be a factor of why a lot of people are not homeschooled or virtually homeschooled. You have way more children, of course, going to public school. So that could be the reason, because in public school, you have the teachers there that are going to pretty much assure that your children are getting their work done as much as they possibly can. As far as the teacher is concerned, as much as they can possibly help them to do so. But homeschooling, you know, I mean, of course, I am the type of hands-on parent where I have we have great communication. So on a weekly basis, we are discussing her school, really on a daily basis. She's coming to me pretty much every day saying, okay, I did this today. So I'm finished with that class for the week. And she's doing that pretty much on a daily basis. And then at least once a week, I'm coming to her saying, okay, you have everything done? I want to make sure everything is done, especially on a Friday, you know, before the weekend. You have everything done? She's assuring me she has it done. I don't have to go behind her and check. It used to be a time I would have to go behind her and check everything, you know, check each class, make sure everything is done, because she was young. I had to know she was getting it done, you know. And then I started gradually giving her some responsibility where she was able to make sure she was getting her schoolwork.
Goodmommy's like such an awesome example of this, but I really want to say to all children and parents out there who have homeschooled children and or are considering homeschooling their children, not only do you have to make sure that your child has the right mindset to just genuinely get their work done, but you as a parent have to have that same mindset of being ready to help your children, because all children aren't, you know, willing to communicate with their parents and say when they're having a hard time with their schoolwork. So not only should the child have that mindset, but some children may have a harder time, especially first starting. So you have to be willing, you have to have the time. If you have a full-time job and you're never home, it may not be the best thing for you to homeschool your child, because that should be a commitment on both of your parts. So it's just important that both of you are willing to work together, because at the end of the day, homeschooling is a team effort, and while it will most likely get easier for them as they go on, it all starts with you as a parent, and that is like super important to their overall success in homeschooling in general.
Right, because as I said first, I came home first before she came home, so I was already home. And it is, like she said, I mean, it's, you know, two people making sure that everything is being done. So, you know, it's both parties' responsibility. I hear a lot of parents say, and that's just not me, I hear a lot of parents say, I have to get my me time. Well, for me, you know, I became a good mommy to her. I no longer have me time. My me time is every now and again, if she's taking a nap or if she's asleep or something, I may be able to watch some TV that I want to watch. Or my me time is in the morning when I get up and I'm able to go in the room by myself and pray. My me time is when I'm upstairs doing whatever I do for me. You know, that's my me time. My me time is not me going on a, you know, 2-3 week vacation, leaving her home by herself, or, you know, doing something I just want to do and she's not there. We are always together, but that's us. Not saying that you have to do that now, but you do have to have a lot of dedication.
Definitely. And I will say as well, good mommy can't have as much me time as other parents because she's a single parent to me as well. Yeah. So I will say that while you still want to be with your children, whether you're a single parent or not, you definitely have to spend more time when you're individual rather than having a partner who you can also depend on to do some of the work. So it also varies by your own predicament. How many kids do you have? Yeah. Are you a single parent, or do you have a partner who also parents your kids? What's your job? How often do you have to be at work? Where do you have to be at work? So there are a lot of factors that can shape your lifestyle and how much me time, you know, you get and how much time you spend with your children. Yeah. I will say that as well.
And if I can just say, I thank God because, you know, she's bringing up a lot of important points, because I work from home. My job, I work from home is at, you know, during the nighttime. So, and I only work part-time. However, I do pick up extra hours and I do other things. I'm an entrepreneur as well. So, you know, I mean, it definitely takes dedication. You have to have a plan before you even come home. I suggest, if you know God, that you pray about it and be sure that, you know, this is something that God is leading you to do. I mean, that worked for me anyway. So we're going to take a break. We're going to go in the store. And when we come back, we will continue on.